Well, this is going to be a very intriguing bowl game with Minnesota and Virginia Tech. You got Minnesota comes in here at 7-5, and Virginia Tech is 6-6. Now, I will tell you, Minnesota has won their last 5 bowl games in a row. So that is definitely something we like to look at. They come and want to win these games. Virginia Tech at 6-6. I'll be honest with you, Prez. Normally, when I see a 6-6 team in a bowl game, it's something that I like to look at that team, because you talk about in these games that are non-playoff games, where's the motivation come from? And if you're sitting at 6-6, generally speaking, you don't want to have a losing season. You're going to try a little harder to get that magical number 7. The problem with that is Virginia Tech's roster right now looks like a skeleton of what it was. Between NFL opt-outs and transfer portal exits, they're going to be missing, like a dozen starters, while Minnesota's roster is pretty much intact. That is a huge edge, obviously, for Minnesota, and thus why you've seen this line go crazy. This line was 3.5 at one point in time. We're up to 9, and don't be surprised if it takes another tick before we get to game time tonight, as the public gets involved, as they normally do the last couple hours before game time. Minnesota's strengths their passing game, while Virginia Tech struggled against teams that threw the ball well. And with all of these opt-outs, I just don't see how Virginia Tech's going to be able to move the ball on a consistent basis. So we've got 3 options when we look at this game of how we could attack it and bet it. We could go ahead and lay the 9 points in this game. I think that's a little bit too much of a line adjustment for me, so I'm not going to go with the Minnesota -9. We could look at a team total. We could take Minnesota team total over 26.5 and play the game that way. One of the problems with Minnesota, and it's also one of the reasons that I don't want to lay the 9 with them, they're not a good running team. When you're laying points, you want to be able to run the football so that whenever you're in the fourth quarter and you're trying to protect the lead and you're running the football, trying to kill clock, you're actually doing something that you do well and can extend the lead. That's not Minnesota's strength. So I'm going to nix those 2 options and go with option number 3. And that is Virginia Tech team total under 16.5. I just don't see how they're going to be able to muster enough points tonight in this game against PJ Fleck's defense. Virginia Tech, not an offensive juggernaut to begin with, and with all of the players out and key people out, I just don't see them moving the football on a consistent basis. So for me, put me down for Virginia Tech team total under 16.5.
Michigan State and Ohio State, the 18th and 21 ranked teams currently in college hoops. -2.5 for Ohio State. They're taking 68% of the money. Where's Marco's money going?
Yeah, and this line actually, Prez, opened up at Ohio State 1. We've seen that line jump to the Ohio State side, and it makes sense for the public to go that way, Prez. You're looking at 2 very good teams, as you said, both ranked in the top 25, and it's basically pick the winner, and you got Ohio State at home. So to me, on a Friday night, that looks almost a little bit too easy for my liking to grab Ohio State. I like Michigan State in this game. And one thing I always say about Coach Izzo, he does not shy away from scheduling tough out-of-conference games in the month of November and December. He does it every single year. This year was no exception. He played early on Kansas, Memphis, in North Carolina. What that does for this team is make them battle-tested and gets this team ready for conference play and gets them tournament ready when we get to March, playing all of those tough games. This is going to be a classic matchup of offense versus defense. Ohio State wants to play a little bit faster. They want to go up and down the court. Michigan State can play fast, but their bread and butter is their defense. Michigan State has held 6 of their 13 opponents to 39% or less shooting, meaning Ohio State's going to have to work for their buckets. And I think Michigan State is going to frustrate them on enough possessions down the court that they stay in this game and pull away late. Michigan State has just 2 losses on the year, and those were to, as I said, number 7 Kansas and number 21 Memphis. I think they've played the better schedule so far, and that is going to be the difference in this one. And again, as I said at the top, just pick the winner. You know me. It looks a little trappy to me to grab Ohio State at home. I'm going to go ahead and take the road dog with the Spartans. Well, you're seeing the money, Prez, simply because Liberty is another team that's lost a lot of key people. Their quarterback, Salter, is transferred to Colorado, and he's not the only player for Liberty that's going to miss this game. They're going to be missing 3 offensive linemen, and that is a concern. You never want to see the offensive line take that many hits. It's tough enough when you're going to be starting an inexperienced quarterback as it is, and then if he's got to get pressure, could create some problems with them moving the football. But I'm looking at this thing, and I just can't lay points with Buffalo in any situation. Now, if you look at Buffalo, you see this team, they like to score points. They go up and down the field. They like to throw the football all over the place. They've thrown for 200 yards in 5 of their last 6 games. In the only game that they didn't throw for over 200, they threw for 193. But in that game, they were up 43-7. So they kept running the football. They weren't throwing it in that one. They rushed it 52 times with the big lead. The problem is Buffalo, those final 4 wins in a row at the end of the season looks nice when you look at the log, except if you look at the 4 teams that they beat, those 4 teams made up 4 of the 5 bottom teams of the MAC conference. Now, if you follow the MAC at all, you know that the MAC basically had a couple decent teams in there, and the rest of the league was pretty bad. And so beating the 4 of the worst 5 in that conference really doesn't impress me. And if you look at this Buffalo defense all year, that really scares the hell out of me. Even with the opt-outs, I think Liberty's going to be able to move the ball enough in this game to get the job done. This is a team that can run the football. And as I said, Buffalo, you look at that defense, I can't trust them. They have given up 30 points or more 6 times this year. 4 times they allowed 47 or more points. Not what you want to be doing, laying points with a team. So this one, again, it's the last bowl game that's not a playoff implications. And if you got to bet it, we're going to take the dog here with Liberty.
I'm 5-0 this week in giving out free NHL bets. I am going to give you guys one tonight, and that is the over in the Edmonton-Anaheim game. The over in the Edmonton-Anaheim game, I really like that play a lot, and mainly because Anaheim is scoring. And, from my perspective, whenever you're looking to play an over in a game that Edmonton is involved in, the key question is, what is the other team going to do? Because we can pretty much count on Edmonton getting 3 or more goals in almost every game they play this year. Now, obviously, they have games where they go cold, but they have gotten 3 or more in every game in the last 10. 9 of in their last 9 straight games. Okay, I got that out of my mouth. They got 3 or more goals in their last 9 straight games. So, logic would suggest that they're going to get us 3 or more tonight. They're not playing some defensive juggernaut in the Anaheim Ducks. This is a team that does let goals in. But this is also a team that has been scoring. Anaheim just put up 4 on Winnipeg, which is very impressive. They put up 3 on New Jersey, and they just put up 5 on Edmonton 3 games ago, where the total of that game ended at 8-5-3. Anaheim's also coming off of 3 wins in a row. So can't touch Edmonton here at minus 450, 500. That's insane to me. If anything, I would take a small wager on Anaheim, but I do think this is a bad spot for them take over the total of 6.5 in the Anaheim Edmonton game.
More. Listen, it's a division rival. It's Cincinnati. You could ruin their chance of making the playoffs. We know Cincinnati's got to win, Denver's got to lose, and all of a sudden Cincinnati's in the playoffs. And I know Denver's a big favorite, but they are the Kansas City Chiefs, who could beat anybody on any given Sunday. So I think you're going to see an effort from the Steelers to eliminate the Bengals. I think this line makes absolutely no sense. You're paying that premium because the Bengals just closed as 3-point favorites at home versus the Steelers. And now you're giving me minus 2.5, 3 on the road. Line value all over Pittsburgh. Win or lose, I think Pittsburgh offers you a good bet on Sunday. And more importantly, time in the teasers on Saturday if it's at that 2.5. Getting them up to 8, 8.5. I think they're going to play hard, and they will not get blown out by double digits at home. I think Pittsburgh on the teaser is a great bet. Or Tua doubtful. That's all the talk of the free fall in the Jets locker room. How they're in disarray. Dude, they've been in disarray from the beginning. What's changed? I see nothing, no problem with that at all. I like the Jets side in this one. I think the Huntley is going to regress. He had like 115 passer rating in that game last week. His average is like in the 70s in his career. Yeah. He'll regress. Give me the Jets at home. Cold weather. Anytime a must win. If you must win, like Dr. Bob Willies used to say, if you must win, you must be thou that good. If you put yourself in that position, you can't be that good, right? If you must win. So that's the situation we're looking at with the Broncos. They got to win. So you're paying that premium. And all the talk is the Chiefs aren't going to play. They're not playing starters, not playing anyone. Dude, you got 50 players on an NFL team. You got to play somebody. You can't just sit everyone. Give me the KC Chiefs. I'm with you. Quick, I like the Texans here. Here's why. Because the line tells me they're going to play their starters. And if they're going to play their starters, they should actually be favored in Tennessee. Because remember, Tennessee opens as 4.5-point favorites. It's now down to a pick 'em. So the money coming in on Houston tells me that they are going to play their starters in this game. They're going to play their starters. Like I said, they should be favored on the road in Tennessee. So I like Houston there. Lions, Vikings. Give me the Lions. Give me the Lions. I know it sounds square at 2.5 since it's not at that key 3, but I do like the Lions. I love your bet on the over. 58.5 was the top. Once it got to 58.5, you saw a little resistance. But anyone that's got 55 or better in their pocket with the over, dude, kick your feet up. You placed a great bet. They're probably going to score 70 on.
So we'll just kind of go down the line here. Jamar Chase is going to be going for most catches, most yards, and TDs. I think he's got this one wrapped up, but Cincinnati does need a win to have any chance to make the playoffs. So you can look at Jamar Chase to go for the most catches, yards, and TDs. He's probably going to get a lot of targets. Long shot is Zach Ertz needs 9 catches, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His receiving total is only 38.5. And this is a game that Washington has said we're going to be playing all out. I think that's worth playing. Also, he's plus 225 to have 1 touchdown catch. So they may try and if incentives are important to them, I think that plus 225 is interesting. If they want to try and get him 2 touchdowns, you can get plus 225 just to have 1. So I think there's some little bit of value on Zach Ertz there. All right, here's some other ones. Geno Smith needs 186 yards passing. Unfortunately, the books have his passing total at 244.5. However, you can use this parlay piece to pass for 200 yards at minus 400. I'll show you how you can use that one. J.K. Dobbins needs 58 yards rushing. There's not a line available for that one. Mike Evans is probably going to be the real popular one. He needs 5 catches and 85 yards, but the books are all over this. His receiving line is 99.5. Baker Mayfield wants to get Mike Evans to 1,000 yards. So there's no line on receptions, but I think you're taking Mike Evans over 99.5. This is a game Tampa needs to win. They're playing the hapless Saints. Expect big games from Baker and from Mike Evans. This is an interesting one to me. Kyler Murray needs 50 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown to get some incentives. 50 rushing yards is plus 300. That's quite a nice price on Kyler, who he hasn't run the ball a lot this year, but in a game that's kind of meaningless, maybe he takes off and runs quite a bit. So that one has my interest. Joe Mixon needs 107 rushing yards, no line yet. Tony Pollard needs 83 rushing. Hold on.
Andy.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon's not even seeing the field, bro.
You asked me to come to bring
No, I know, but we wanted to I want to discuss this. If you guys do see a line on Joe Mixon, take the under.
Okay. Tony Pollard needs 83 yards rushing. He's been hurt the last couple weeks. Marquez Valdez-Scantling needs a touchdown to get an incentive, and Derrick Henry needs a touchdown to get to 15. He gets an incentive. It's minus 260 to score a touchdown. Prez, I think you can parlay Derrick Henry to score a touchdown with Geno Smith to have 200 yards passing. That would be the way that I would play those two. It gets you under the minus 200, kind of around minus 150. Those are very, very attainable numbers. That's how I would play the incentives this week. There's a ton of sack props. These sack props are probably not going to come out until closer to game time. I'll let you guys read these. The one that has my attention is Kyle Van Noy for Ravens. He just needs half a sack. That's a game they have to win. He's going to be playing, and he gets the Browns and Dorian Thompson Robinson. So that would be the one that really, really jumps off the page for me. Only needing half a sack is so much easier to get than a full sack. So if you're into sack props, these are some guys that definitely need one or half a sack just to get their incentives. Kyle Van Noy, though, that's the one I would focus on.